Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into the wild world of starting and running your own business?
It's quite a ride.
Oh yeah, exhilarating highs and, let's be real, a few uh, nerve-wracking plunges along the way too, right?
That's why we're here, to learn from those who've been there, done that, and lived to tell the tale.
Exactly. We're dissecting the entrepreneur's guide to building a successful business.
By Jonathan T. Scott.
Right, and this book is packed with insights from, get this, hundreds of entrepreneurs across 14 countries.
Talk about a global perspective.
So first things first, what surprised me reading this is how it's not always about, these groundbreaking inventions.
It's more about passion, right? Finding that sweet spot where your skills and interests meet a real need in the market.
It's about solving problems for people. I mean, think about it. Blue jeans. Simple, right?
But Levi Strauss, he created those because miners needed tough, durable pants. Not exactly a fashion statement at first.
Exactly. Or take Avon, the makeup giant.
Yeah.
It all began because the founder realized, hey, perfume, way more popular than books.
Who knew, right? But see, those are great examples of tapping into a need. But even with a fantastic idea, there's something so many entrepreneurs skip over. Jonathan emphasizes this a lot.
You're talking about market research. It's not the sexiest topic, but man, it's essential.
Absolutely. It's like building a house without checking the foundation.
Yeah, yikes. So Jonathan actually tells this story about a gift shop owner. The owner invested a ton of money in, fancy tableware, just assumed people would love it.
Big mistake.
Turns out no one in his area was interested. Didn't bother to actually ask his potential customers what they wanted.
Ouch. Costly lesson to learn the hard way.
So how do we avoid a similar fate? What are the key takeaways here?
Jonathan breaks market research down into a super clear framework. Start with your objectives. What do you need to find out? Then you've got two types of data, secondary and primary.
Break that down for me. Secondary versus primary.
Okay, think of secondary sources like using someone else's map. Industry reports, data from groups like, oh, Simmons Market Research Group comes to mind.
Okay, so that gives you a general lay of the land.
Exactly. But then you got to get your hands dirty. Primary data, that's talking directly to your potential customers, finding out what they need, what their pain points are. That's where the real gold is.
So we've got our big idea. We've talked to our potential customers. Now what?
Location, location, location. It might sound cliche, but honestly, choosing the right spot for your business, just as important as everything else we've talked about.
Makes sense. A trendy clothing boutique. Probably going to thrive in a bustling shopping center. But if I'm a consultant working from home, that's a totally different story.
Right. And Jonathan does a great job in the book of breaking down those different options. Home-based, your own storefront, those busy shopping centers, weighing the pros and cons of each.
But no matter what you choose, he keeps hammering on this idea of due diligence. Sounds intense.
It is. It's about protecting yourself. We're talking zoning laws, right?
Oh.
Lease agreements that won't leave you high and dry. Even checking for something as simple as a leaky roof.
You'd be surprised how often those seemingly small details get overlooked.
And they can cause huge headaches down the road.
Okay, so we've got our location locked down. What's next? We're ready to roll up our sleeves and really get this business going.
Time to make that idea a reality. This is where we dive into section 2 of the book, operationalizing your vision.
I like it. So we're talking manufacturing, different business models.
Even bracing for those potential pitfalls. Jonathan doesn't sugarcoat it, which is refreshing.
Got to keep it real, right? Honestly, manufacturing has always seemed a bit like a black box to me. How do you even find the right people to make your product?
It can definitely feel like navigating a maze, especially for first-timers. Finding those reliable manufacturers and suppliers is absolutely crucial. Jonathan lays out this really comprehensive 10-step roadmap to help you through the process.
10 steps. That's pretty thorough.
It is, but trust me, it's for good reason. This is about protecting your business, your investment. You've got to be thorough. He starts with, getting crystal clear on your needs.
Materials, packaging.
Delivery timelines, the whole 9 yards. And then, of course, finding manufacturers that actually align with those needs.
So it's not just about going with the cheapest option, right?
Not always. In fact, the book really emphasizes building those strong, lasting relationships with your suppliers. Personal visits, if possible, open communication.
So they're almost like an extension of your team.
Exactly. You're building trust, understanding their capabilities. That trust becomes even more crucial when, things inevitably go a little sideways.
Which, let's be honest, happens. Okay, so once that production line is humming along, we've got to think about business models. This is how we actually make money, right?
Now we're getting to the heart of it. Jonathan talks about all these different approaches to sales, profit margins, and building those all-important customer relationships. One concept I found fascinating is this idea of high volume versus high margin.
Give me an example. I'm a very visual learner.
Okay, picture this. Walmart versus a high-end boutique. Two very different models, right? Walmart, they're all about high volume, selling tons of items, but at lower prices. Then you've got that boutique. Fewer sales, yeah, but each sale brings in a much higher profit.
High margin. So it's all about finding the approach that fits your product, your target market.
Your overall goals, for sure. He also dives into this really interesting concept, product to service. Uses Dow Chemical as an example.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
They made this really smart shift. Instead of just selling chemicals, they started selling the benefit of using their products.
Okay, so like instead of just selling a product, you're almost selling a solution or expertise.
Exactly. And that creates a more sustainable model, building those long-term relationships with customers. It's about providing ongoing value, not just a one-off transaction.
This is all great stuff, but I know Jonathan doesn't shy away from the tougher aspects of entrepreneurship. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Definitely not. He gets real about the challenges, and in fact, he has a whole section dedicated to the 13 deadly sins of business failure.
Okay, don't scare me. But seriously, what are some of the biggest pitfalls our listeners should watch out for?
Three big ones come to mind immediately. Inadequate planning, you've got to have a roadmap. Cash flow problems, that's the lifeblood of any business. Ignore it at your peril. And then, even if you have an amazing product, if you're not marketing it effectively.
It's like that saying, if a tree falls in the forest.
Exactly. You can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, it doesn't matter.
We've covered a ton today, from that initial idea spark to navigating manufacturing, marketing. It's a lot.
It's a whirlwind. But there's one more essential piece of the puzzle Jonathan digs into, and it's often overlooked.
The human side of things. It can't all be spreadsheets and profit margins, right?
You got it. Section 3 really resonated with me. People, profits, and the power of ethics. It's about remembering that business at its core is about people.
Building something meaningful, something you believe in.
And that starts with your team. This chapter, Unlocking Employee Potential, completely changed how I think about leadership. It's about empowering your people, giving them the tools and the autonomy to truly shine.
Love that. So it's less about top-down control and more about fostering a sense of ownership.
Exactly. And when employees feel empowered, they're more engaged, more productive, and committed to those amazing customer experiences. And speaking of customers,
We got to talk pricing. It's more than just slapping a number on a product, isn't it?
way more. Jonathan breaks it down into these internal factors, your goals, your marketing, how you're positioning the product.
It makes sense.
But then you've got the external stuff too. Competitors, the overall economic climate. There's a lot to consider. It's got to be strategic.
It's like a mini SWOT analysis every time you decide on a price. Okay, last but not least, we've got to talk about ethics. It feels like more and more consumers really care about whether a business is doing good in the world.
It's not just a trend. It's essential. And Jonathan's point is, it's not about sacrificing profits for ethics. It's about recognizing that doing good for your community, your employees, the planet, it can actually be good for business too.
So it's not an either-or situation. You can be profitable and ethical.
Absolutely. In fact, I'd argue you almost have to be these days. Customers are savvy. They want to support businesses that align with their values.
Like that old saying, people buy from people they like and trust, right?
Exactly. Jonathan highlights some great companies that have really nailed this whole social responsibility thing, and it's had a hugely positive impact, both for their bottom line and their reputation.
Wow, this has been quite a journey. One
Yeah.
of the biggest things I'm taking away is that this whole entrepreneurship thing, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's going to be full of challenges, but also incredible rewards.
I agree. And honestly, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's so much we can learn from those who've paved the way from their successes, and let's be honest, their failures too.
Right. Learn from those mistakes. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one question our listeners can reflect on? Something to keep that entrepreneurial fire burning.
What's one small but impactful action you can take today to enhance your business or, heck, even just your own entrepreneurial journey?
I love that. It doesn't have to be this huge, overwhelming thing.
Exactly. Whether it's deepening a customer relationship, streamlining a process in your business, or finally taking that leap and aligning your work with your values, small steps can lead to big changes over time.
This has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much ground. It's been inspiring, to say the least. So until next time, keep innovating, keep learning, and never be afraid to chase those dreams, big or small.